Hi, this is Jasmine from Sol y Luna Mystica, and I'm a tarot reader here in the desert, and today I have a reading for you. So, in my meditation before this reading, I got some symbols. These might already be important to you, or you will see them very soon. The butterfly, 222, 333, anchors, like from a boat, and a bear. Now, the bear did look a little angry, but it was ferocious, shall we say. So I've already cleansed my space and I've already shuffled the deck, but I'm going to pull the cards as I'm here with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's start with our first card here. We have the Seven of Swords in reverse. I will show it to you upright, but essentially when I see this card, it's very much a situation where everyone's kind of turned against one person. We did get it in reverse, so there is a bit of a crisis happening, or you might feel like you're coming out of a crisis, but essentially there's some sort of situation with a lot of people that is causing a lot of stress. Obviously, it's showing up as, I don't want to say the main part of your energy, but essentially the center of what's taking your attention right now. So whether you're the person that feels like everyone's turned on them, or you're kind of a bystander of the situation, it's still showing up as very central. Now, what's challenging you is the Aeon, which is having the choice in how you respond to the situation, right? So if there's a crisis of sorts and, it's very overwhelming, but at the same time, you have the choice to respond to it. What I mean by this is you can either respond in a way that's more evolved, right? From all of the lessons, all of the hardships, all of the things that you've learned in your life. And you're like, okay, I can see the mistakes I've made in the past because of certain patterns. And maybe you weren't aware of those patterns at the time. And so now you've grown. So right now, Spirit is kind of telling you like, okay, the situation is happening. How are you going to respond? Are you going to go back to your old ways, back to the ways that were just not as productive, more explosive, destructive? Even if you feel validated, even if you feel like heads should roll because of the situation, how are you going to respond to it, right? What is a way for you to respond with integrity and dignity and really honoring yourself and who you are and all of the growth that you've done? So there is a choice to make here. That's the vibe I'm getting. Now, whatever the situation is, it could be with friends, really any kind of relationship, it shows up that there was a buildup to this, right? So it wasn't something that just kind of surprised you or like came out of nowhere. There was tension building. I do think it might be a home situation, maybe something with family, but the Chariot represents Cancer. It is associated with Cancer, which is related to the home, matters of the home. So the tension in the home is part of what led to this crisis, right? And all of those patterns of everyone and their egos responding in ways that maybe weren't so helpful, and it just kind of led to this explosion of sorts. Now for you, you're showing up as, this is a future card, you're showing up as someone who is taking time to themselves, separating themselves from the chaos of whatever situation this is, right? Here we can see Patch, the main character in this deck, taking a break and taking time to reflect. So if you feel like this is a very explosive situation, it's okay to withdraw. It's okay to take a step back and really think about it before responding, right? Now here we can see that there is a feeling that you're owed an apology, that you feel slighted in some way. It might be that feeling of like everyone's against me. And honestly, when I see this card, it's more likely that the other party, or at least one of the other party, will understand that and will actually come and try to make amends with you, at least communicate. So that is showing in the future position. I see this as a very positive thing because it shows that there's a bridge, an avenue to communicate, to try to work through something. So there is positive energy showing up here if you so wish to allow that. Now we have this card, the Five of Cups in reverse, and this is the card in the position of your consciousness, like what you're consciously working through. Now I will show it to you upright. I have two characters. They've traveled deep into the desert, and it's almost like it's the end of the road, right? They've gone as far as they can go, and they're out of water, which is essential in the desert. And there's a lot of regret. When this card is upright, the word on it is regret. Here we have a Scorpion, so a Scorpio could be important to your situation, not necessarily, but the Scorpion also represents a lot. My point being, with this card, because we do have it in the reverse position, and it is your conscious struggle, this could be talking about the shame that you might carry with you. So the shame of not recognizing something sooner, not standing up for yourself, letting something go too far, making mistakes, right? We're all human, making our own mistakes. And there is a process of forgiveness that is helpful for yourself. And even if you need to make amends with other people, there's nothing wrong with growing and communicating. I mean, that's kind of the goal. But more so, I think it's important to kind of address, what about the situation do I feel shameful about, and what does that mean for me? Because everyone's going to be different, right? For some people, maybe there's something that they want to address or to better in themselves or to communicate about. And for other people, it might be more so the shame of like not recognizing something sooner. So I do think it requires some self-reflection to what it means to you specifically. But if there's this feeling that's, I would say, lower vibrational, right? Like shame is one of the most negative feelings or impactful feelings I think that we can feel as humans. It is important to really look at that shadow aspect, whether it's of the situation or ourselves, most likely both. And shining a light on it can help you release it a little bit. Now at the root of this, like the root of the trees, we've been going through the branches, we have the Prince of Discs, but we got it in reverse. The Prince of Discs is someone who is very stable, very reliable, kind of has their ish together. They're good at planting seeds and seeing something come to fruition. And it feels very fruitful, right? Oh, look, we have the butterflies here. I didn't realize there were butterflies on this card. There's also a bull, which is like Taurus, so that might be an important sign as well. So why are these the roots of everything that's going on here? It seems that there was a lack of stability. In the prior relationships, the structures, if it's family, like family dynamic, there's a lack of stability, and that really kind of, I felt like an impediment to you perhaps, where it's like, you have all these good ideas, you have all these things you want to do and ways you want to move forward, and it just feels like things don't come to fruition, or you start and stop. And in a weird way, it's connected to the situation where it's the lack of a structure, the lack of stability, the lack of fairness I'm getting, which is interesting. And it just created kind of these like icky dynamics with this group. It doesn't feel good, right? So let's go into the next cards that we have here. Okay, so for your advice card, you have the Two of Swords, which is very, very similar to this card. The Two of Swords is really a message to, one, start meditating if you don't already, but to really shut out the entire world. If you see, the character here has a blindfold, even the swords are like an X, like nothing can come through. And we also see the third eye highlighted here, so it's a tapping into the intuition, into the emotions, signified by the moon and the water. So with the Two of Swords, and like related to Libra, we have the scales of justice and balance. So for you, I think the situation is really overwhelming. It feels like a crisis. It feels like everything is just falling apart. And when that happens, instead of reacting and just being explosive, it's really time to take a step back, start taking deep breaths, and really allow your mind to get quiet. Allow yourself to really block everyone out, get everyone out of your brain, out of your heart, in terms of not letting other people's opinions and emotions sway you, but allowing that to fall away so that you can actually be very clear on what you feel and how you want to move forward. Allowing yourself to get quiet will help you tap into your higher self, and it will help you process all of the emotions that you're going through. And while that is a process and will take time, it's not just like one and done. It will ultimately bring you peace and the stability that hasn't really been felt throughout this situation. Now for your outside influences, we have the Two of Cups in reverse. So the Two of Cups is the card of love. You see how they're, I'm not sure what the word would be, but they're almost like exploding with water. It's that feeling of when you're falling in love and you're just overflowing, like it's flowing out of you. We have it in reverse. So this could be someone in your life who feels like it feels like they act out of fear of rejection or a fear of not being loved. And that's one of the tough things, right? Because while that's understandable and you can say, okay, someone has this attachment style, or you understand their traumas and like where they come from, and so you have compassion and understanding towards them, but it's still important to recognize that people who act out of the fear of rejection or the fear of losing your love, that sometimes looks negative as well. And it's important to just be able to see it and understand it for what it is. That way you're not taking it on. But I still think it's important to, depending on the actions and behaviors, definitely make sure you're aware of your boundaries and things that you're accepting of and not accepting of, right? Now for your hopes and fears, we have the High Priestess, but she came out in reverse. I think with the situation, there's a lot of self-doubt, and it's kind of connected to that shame we talked about earlier, where you're navigating through a lot, right? There are a lot of characters. There's a lot going on. And so as you're responding to this, especially if you're finding new ways to respond in that are not your old ways. So maybe in the past you were someone who was explosive and felt the need to fight and like defend the boundary to the death by fighting, right? Now might be a time where you choose peace and distance, right? Or maybe if you never speak up and you're just used to like letting people walk all over you, now is the time that you spoke up and like you made a stand for yourself. So, you know, it can look different ways, but when you do something new and you're growing and you're becoming a better person, there's a lot of doubt involved because you're doing things ways that maybe you haven't done them before. So there's this feeling of, what if I'm not doing the right thing? What if I'm responding to this wrong? Yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of doubt. But like I said, the meditation will definitely help with all of us because it is quite a process. And trust me when I say I feel you. Now for your outcome card, we have this beautiful Queen of Wands. She's passionate, she's fiery. Look at the sunflowers here, so beautiful. This is someone who lives out their passions, who's excited by life, who is empowered by their energy. They're not burnt out, they're, what's the word? Turned on. That sounds kind of gross, I don't mean it like that, but I mean like their energy is on. They're living and experiencing life. There's a cat here, so for some of you the cat might be your familiar or like a spirit animal, but this is someone who's really in tune with her power and her energy and is living life as a queen, inspired, creative, doing things in the world, confident, and ultimately happy as well. This is a very empowered position. I love this for you so much. So that concludes the reading. I hope this was helpful to you. Always remember to be your own muse, and I'll see you next time.